It was supposed to be a season of joy, laughter, and gifts wrapped in shining paper. But in one small classroom, a secret was whispered that froze every smile. A little black girl sat quietly as her classmates listed what Santa would bring. She had nothing to say because she knew no gift was coming. No tree, no presents, not even a ribbon. What happened next carried her story far beyond those classroom walls. And when a billionaire learned her truth, his response left the world speechless. Her name was Amara, a bright-eyed black girl whose laughter usually filled the classroom, like sunshine breaking through clouds. She loved to learn, loved to dream, and most of all, loved the magic of Christmas, the twinkling lights, the music drifting through the streets, the way her friends spoke about family traditions. But for Amara, Christmas was different. Her mother worked double shifts at a local diner, barely able to keep the lights on. Their small apartment was cold in winter, its corners bare where other families might place a tree. At school, the season brought excitement, lists of wishes, colorful decorations, children trading stories of the gifts waiting under their trees. Amara smiled with them, nodding along, but inside, she felt the quiet ache of being left out. She carried the secret in silence. There would be no presents, no wrapping paper, no surprises waiting for her. What Amara didn't know was that this secret, whispered once in a classroom, would travel further than she ever imagined. It would reach ears she never thought would hear her story. Ears belonging to a man with more money than she could ever dream of. A man who had never once crossed her path, but whose choice would soon change everything. The classroom buzzed with excitement as the teacher announced the holiday activity. Every child would share what they hoped to receive for Christmas. Hands shot up eagerly. A boy wished for a shiny new bicycle. Another girl dreamed of a dollhouse taller than she was. Laughter and chatter filled the room, like music, until the teacher's eyes rested on Amara. Her heart pounded. She hadn't prepared an answer because she had no wish list to share. Still, she forced a small smile. "I don't think I'll be getting a gift this year," she whispered. At first, silence. Then, a few children shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to respond. A boy in the back laughed. "No gifts? That's weird!" The words stung sharper than she expected. She wanted to disappear into her chair, to swallow back what she'd said. But the truth was out, and there was no taking it back. What Amara didn't notice was her teacher, pausing, her eyes soft with concern. Later that evening, while reviewing papers at her desk, the teacher couldn't shake Amara's quiet confession. She mentioned it in passing to a friend at a charity event, hoping perhaps someone might help. That friend, connected to circles far beyond Amara's world, repeated the story once more until it reached a man seated at the head table. He was a billionaire, a name that made headlines in finance and politics. To him, life was defined by skyscrapers, private jets, and investments that shaped entire cities. He had everything money could buy, yet little that truly touched his heart. But when he heard about the little black girl with no Christmas gift, something unsettled him. He tried to brush it off. Surely there were thousands of children in the same position. Why should this story matter? And yet it stayed with him, echoing long after the gala ended. Meanwhile, at school, Amara felt the sting of being different grow sharper. When classmates chattered about wrapping paper and Christmas stockings, she sat in silence, doodling on scraps of paper to distract herself. The whispers spread. Some children mocked her. Others simply avoided her, as though poverty itself were contagious. The cruel part wasn't just the absence of gifts. It was the loneliness that came with it. That weekend, Amara walked with her mother through the marketplace, passing stalls heavy with toys and decorations. She paused in front of a display, eyes lingering on a small stuffed bear with a red scarf. For just a moment, she let herself imagine holding it. Then she lowered her gaze and kept walking, her tiny hand clutching her mother's, who carried the weight of both exhaustion and guilt. Far away, the billionaire sat in his penthouse, looking out over the city lights. He could have ignored it. He could have moved on. But the image haunted him. The idea of a child sitting through Christmas, mourning with nothing at all. For the first time in years, he felt something deeper than profit margins. A question pressed at him. What would it mean to give without expecting anything in return? And so, the seed of a decision began to grow. Snow drifted across the city that Christmas Eve, frosting rooftops and painting the streets white. Amara sat by the window of their small apartment, hugging her knees. The cold crept through the thin walls, and the silence inside was heavy. Her mother, exhausted from another double shift, tried to smile as she set down 2 bowls of soup. No tree, no lights, no gifts, just another night they would try to survive. Across town, in a penthouse that towered above the city, the billionaire couldn't sleep. The story of the little black girl, without a gift, gnawed at him like a thorn lodged in his chest. He had brushed off many tales of hardship before, but this one was different. Perhaps it was her innocence. Perhaps it was the way poverty had stripped her even of the simplest. Joy, a toy at Christmas. He rose, pacing the marble floor, staring out at the glittering skyline. For the first time in years, his wealth felt useless. At dawn, he made a decision. Not through assistants or PR managers. Not as a publicity stunt. He would act himself. That morning, Amara's mother prepared to leave for work again. "I'll be back before night, sweetheart," she said softly, kissing her daughter's forehead. Amara nodded, forcing a smile. When the door closed, she curled up on the couch, whispering to herself, "Maybe next year." A knock at the door startled her. She hesitated, then opened it slowly. On the other side stood a tall man in a dark coat, holding a box wrapped in gold paper. Behind him, a driver unloaded more packages, their ribbons shining against the dull hallway. Amara froze, her wide eyes locked on the stranger. "Are you Amara?" he asked gently. She nodded, unable to speak. He knelt down, his voice soft. "I heard you weren't expecting any gifts this Christmas. I thought, maybe we could change that." Inside the apartment, the boxes piled high, stuffed animals, books, warm clothes, and even the little bear with the red scarf she had stared at in the marketplace. Amara gasped, pressing her hands to her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes as she touched the bear, whispering, "It's real." Her mother returned moments later, dropping her purse in shock at the sight. "Sir, I don't understand. Who are you?" The billionaire rose respectfully. "Just someone who forgot what Christmas meant until I heard about your daughter. She reminded me." Neighbors peeked through doorways, whispering in disbelief. The poorest family on the block had just received more gifts than anyone had ever seen. Yet it wasn't the toys or the clothes that mattered most. It was the moment Amara felt seen, valued, no longer invisible in her pain. The billionaire stayed for tea at the tiny kitchen table. The mother apologized for the chipped cups, but he only smiled. "This feels more real than any banquet I've ever attended," he admitted. He listened as Amara spoke about her dreams of becoming a teacher, her love of stories, her hope that someday no child would feel forgotten. Something shifted in him. For years, his life had been about numbers, deals, and reputation. But here, in this cramped apartment, he felt a warmth no fortune had ever given him. He realized this wasn't about charity. It was about connection, about humanity. Before leaving, he placed an envelope in Amara's mother's hand. Inside was not just money, but the promise of a scholarship for Amara's education. "A gift should last longer than a day," he said quietly. As the door closed behind him, Amara hugged her bear tightly, whispering, "Maybe miracles are real after all." And somewhere, walking back to his car, the billionaire smiled. Not the polished smile for cameras, but the raw, unguarded smile of a man who had just rediscovered his heart. The days following that Christmas were unlike any Amara had ever known. For the first time, she walked into school with her head held high, clutching her little bear with the red scarf. Her classmates, who once mocked her, now stared in awe as whispers rippled across the room. "That's the girl the billionaire visited," one boy muttered. "She got more gifts than anyone," another added, wide-eyed. But Amara didn't brag. She didn't hold it over them. She simply smiled, her quiet dignity shining brighter than all the wrapping paper in the world. Her teacher watched with pride, understanding something profound had shifted. It wasn't just about presents. It was about dignity restored, about a little girl realizing her worth in a world that often tried to erase it. Meanwhile, the billionaire's act of kindness became a story that refused to stay hidden. Neighbors told neighbors until the tale spread through the city like wildfire. Newspapers wrote about it, calling him generous, compassionate, a hero. But when reporters asked him for comment, he gave only a simple reply. It wasn't me who changed, it was the child. She reminded me of what giving really means. For him, that single moment in a tiny apartment changed more than Christmas. It altered the course of his life. No longer was he satisfied with wealth as numbers in a bank account. He began quietly funding scholarships for underprivileged children, creating programs to lift up families who had been ignored by society. And every December, he made sure no child in that community went without a gift. As for Amara, the gift went far beyond toys or clothes. The envelope he left behind gave her the chance to dream, without fear of being crushed by poverty. She worked hard in school, fueled by the memory of a Christmas, when a stranger proved that miracles could knock on even the humblest of doors. Years later, when she walked across the stage to accept her college degree, she carried the same stuffed bear with the red scarf in her, a reminder of the night hope returned. The lesson of her story wasn't about riches or fame. It was about something far deeper, that true wealth lies not in what we keep, but in what we give. And perhaps most powerfully, it reminded everyone watching that racism, poverty, and inequality can strip people of opportunities. But compassion can restore dignity in ways that money alone never could.